The sun always seemed to linger a little longer over our small coastal town, wrapping everything in a golden embrace. It was the kind of place where time moved slowly and dreams felt safe. For me, Arjun, a 25-year-old painter, my dream was my studio. It wasn't just a room with canvases and brushes. It was my sanctuary, perched right by the sea, where the scent of salt and turpentine mingled in the air. Every sunrise painted a new masterpiece on the horizon, and I tried my best to capture that magic on canvas. Life was simple, beautiful, and filled with color. My days were a rhythm of mixing pigments, the gentle scratch of a brush on canvas, and the quiet hum of the town waking up. I painted the fishermen mending their nets, their faces etched with stories of the sea. I painted the children laughing as they chased the waves, their joy as bright as the midday sun. My studio was a gallery of these moments, a testament to the quiet beauty of our home. It was more than a building. It was the heart of my world, a place where every stroke of paint was a word in a story I was telling. I thought this story would last forever, but some stories have chapters you never see coming, chapters that change everything in an instant. Then came the night the sky turned red for all the wrong reasons. A fire, wild and merciless, swept through the waterfront. I stood there, helpless, as flames devoured my sanctuary, turning years of work, of passion, of dreams, into a mountain of ash and smoke. The fire didn't just take my paintings, it took a part of me. The colors of my world faded to gray. In the days that followed, the silence in my life was deafening. The familiar scent of paint was replaced by the acrid smell of burnt wood. My hands, once so steady and sure, felt empty and useless. The vibrant artist who saw beauty everywhere was gone, replaced by a ghost haunting the ruins of his own life. My friends and neighbors offered their condolences, their words of encouragement like distant echoes I couldn't quite grasp. They'd say, "You're so talented, Arjun, you'll rebuild." But how do you rebuild a soul? How do you paint a new dream when the old one lies in ashes at your feet? I would just stare at the charred remains, a monument to my failure. The fire had burned hotter and deeper than anyone knew. It had reached into my chest and extinguished the spark that made me who I was. I was broken. Days bled into weeks. The golden sun still rose, but I no longer saw its beauty. I just saw the glaring light exposing my loss. I'd walk the shoreline, not looking for inspiration, but just walking to feel something, anything other than the hollow ache inside. One afternoon, as I sat on the cold, damp sand near the wreckage of my studio, a small voice cut through my despair. "Are you the painter man?" I looked up to see a little girl with eyes as wide and curious as the ocean itself. This was Maya. She was holding a single, slightly wilted daisy. I managed a weak nod. She took a hesitant step closer and pointed towards the blackened debris. "Did you lose all your colors?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. I told her I had, that everything was gone. The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. Then she looked me straight in the eye, her expression serious beyond her years, and said something that would change everything. "You can start again," she said simply, even with just one line. That's how my teacher says all pictures start, one line. It sounded so simple, yet so profound. Her words, so pure and innocent, were like a tiny key unlocking a door I thought was sealed forever. She then offered me the daisy. "Here," she said, "it's a yellow line." I looked from her hopeful face to the flower in my hand, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker. A tiny, fragile spark in the overwhelming darkness. It was just a line, but a line is a beginning. A line is a path forward. A line is hope. Driven by that flicker of hope Maya had given me, I returned to the ruins, not to mourn, but to search. I sifted through the debris, the ash staining my hands black. It felt like I was digging through my own heart, searching for any piece of my old self that might have survived. And then my fingers brushed against something cool and metallic. I pulled it from the soot. It was a small, ornate metal phoenix, a little sculpture I'd bought at a flea market years ago. It was tarnished and scorched, but it was whole. Its wings were outstretched, poised for flight. Holding that phoenix in my palm, I felt a shiver run down my spine. A phoenix, the mythical bird that rises from its own ashes, reborn and more magnificent than before. It was a sign, a powerful, undeniable message from the universe. This wasn't just an ending, it was a chance for a new beginning. I wasn't just Arjun, the painter who lost his studio. I was Arjun, and I was going to rise again. The fire had taken my canvases, but it couldn't take my creativity. It had taken my studio, but it couldn't take my community. An idea, bold and bright, began to form in my mind. My canvases would no longer be confined to a single room. My new canvas would be the town itself. I looked at the grey, smoke-stained walls around the harbour, walls that now seemed to reflect my own sorrow. They were blank slates, waiting for a story, waiting for colour, waiting for life. I gathered the neighborhood children, including my little muse, Maya. I told them my plan. We're going to paint our town back to life together. Their eyes lit up with excitement. We started with one wall, a long, dreary stretch of concrete by the marketplace. Armed with donated paint and a collection of brushes, we began. I showed the children how to mix colors, how to create shapes, how to tell a story without words. Their laughter was the best music I had ever heard. We painted sprawling scenes of the ocean, teeming with vibrant fish and dancing dolphins. We painted our town's history, the brave fishermen, the bountiful harvests. Each brushstroke was an act of defiance against the greyness, a splash of joy on a canvas of sorrow. The town started to watch, first with curiosity, then with smiles. The transformation was magical. The dull, forgotten corners of our town burst into life. Grey walls became vibrant murals. It wasn't just my art anymore. It was our art. Every child who added a splash of blue to the sky or a streak of green to a wave was a part of this rebirth. We weren't just painting walls. We were rebuilding our community's spirit, one brushstroke at a time. People would stop and watch, offering us drinks and snacks, their faces filled with a renewed sense of pride for our home. The fire had taken my studio, but in its place, it had given me something so much bigger, a shared masterpiece. The annual village festival was approaching. It was always the biggest event of the year, a celebration of our community and our shared life by the sea. This year, it felt different. It felt more important. It was a chance to celebrate not just what we had, but what we had overcome. I knew I had to create something special for it. A centerpiece that would capture the journey we had all been on. I chose the largest wall in the town square, the one that faced the sea, the one that everyone would see. This would be my testament. For weeks, I worked tirelessly, often late into the night, under the soft glow of lanterns held by my new little assistants. The mural was a secret, hidden behind large tarps. The anticipation in the town was palpable. Finally, the night of the festival arrived. The square was filled with music, laughter, and the delicious smell of festival food. The entire town gathered before the covered wall. I took a deep breath, found Maya in the crowd, and gave her a grateful wink. Then, with a dramatic pull, the tarps fell away. A collective gasp swept through the crowd, followed by a wave of applause that seemed to shake the very ground. There on the wall, in a blaze of fiery reds, oranges, and golds, was a magnificent phoenix rising from a swirl of ash and embers. Its wings were spread wide, its eyes gleamed with an unbreakable spirit, and its feathers seemed to shimmer with an inner light. It was a symbol of our town, of our resilience, of our rebirth. It was my story, and it was our story. As I looked out at the faces of my friends and neighbors, their eyes shining with tears and joy, I knew I was home. When life burns your dreams to the ground, you have a choice. You can stay in the ashes, or you can find the strength to rise again, stronger, brighter, and wiser than before. Thank you so much for watching our story unfold. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories of hope and inspiration. We'll see you in the next one.